I forgot. That's what a allergy-laden head does sometimes. This makes me forget things like I'm already recording. So, all right, so away we go. First up, let me interrupt this broadcast to say that opportunity is in the air and it is in beta, as are the allergens. So if you are a ConnectWise managed partner, we're going to beta with you first. Auto task will come next, but you're now you will be, so this release is coming out this weekend. So is the button there right now? No, it's not. Will it be there on Monday? Yes, it will. So that means you need to log out and log back in before Monday morning. And you are going to be able to create opportunities from a recommendation. So if you've looked at our recommendation list recently, you probably have not seen all these blue and green buttons because they're not there. But now, for every recommendation that you build, you will be able to either create a ConnectWise opportunity or link to an existing one. So this is a big deal. I know folks want this in tickets as well, but a lot of you already have tons of opportunities in your PSA and want to be able to connect back. So we can link to an existing one. Show you what that looks like. It'll pull up your list of opportunities, and then I can just link it there, and you'll see the status pops up on the page, etc. Or I can create a new opportunity. So I want to tell you what the beta rules will be for linking to for creating a new opportunity. So we pass the LCI name as the summary, right? So whatever you had as the recommendation name will go over in the summary field. The close date will be the LCI start date if the start date is after today. If it's before today, the close date will be today's date. The source will be the name of the LCI user. The description will be a combination of things. It'll be the LCI description, the total estimate, plus the labor estimate, plus the materials estimate, plus the replacement estimate, plus any recurring costs. And we will not add a forecast entry to into ConnectWise Manage, at least not in the beta version. So this is what you'll see landing over there. We do have, yes, Brian, you can list to existing opportunities as well. So this is if you want to link to, if you want to create a new one, or you can go in, I'm going to break this up, this one, and then I'll relink it. So I can go in and say link to existing opportunity. So this is one of our definitely most sought after requests. Folks have asked to be able to link to connect to the ConnectWise opportunities for a long time. So we're excited to get this out the door. Again, auto task will be next. Some things for future consideration that will not be out in beta, but would love to get feedback as you play around with this. So next week, maybe we can have a conversation around this. Right now, you will only be able to see this in the recommendation views. Note that you can hide the opportunities because we assume if you're showing this for a customer view, you would not want them to see the list of opportunities, right? So if I go into the roadmap board, same thing at the bottom of all of the tiles, you can see the opportunity, but you can also hide them. We know that this is a popular view to share with your partners. If they are an external user and you've given them access to the site, they won't be able to see those opportunities at all. So no fear of them seeing your, comments to them on it. So both status boards, you can show opportunities or hide opportunities. I'm going to mention some of the future considerations and get any feedback. So future considerations: to add the ability to manage ConnectWise ops in the recommendations roadmap and the MSP recommendations roadmap. So right now, the list view or the roadmap view, this full one, we don't have in there yet. Directly load LCI recommendation costs as estimate entries into ConnectWise Manage. So those of you that are managed partners, we want to think about if that's something you would aim to have moving forward. You cannot edit a ConnectWise opportunity in Lifecycle Insights. So you have to go into ConnectWise to edit it once we've created it there. And then the potential to update LCI recommendation pages to allow filtering of ConnectWise opportunity data. So those are some things to think about. Do I have partners on the call who have been waiting for this or excited to try out the opportunities? Just let me know in the chat, and curious if anything I've said, if you have questions on, etc. Got a thumbs up. I like it. Thank you. Excellent. Good. All right. Yeah, we know it's a popular one. Like I said, with my voice, I don't get to be all enthusiastic about it, but we're excited. Okay, perfect. Perfect. Thank you. Thank you. All right. Well, then let me go back to the Jamboard and show. Oh, nice. And there it is. You just mentioned it to someone, Alex, and here it happens. So let me go back to, maybe you made it happen. That's perfect. Let me go back to the Jamboard for a minute, because I want to talk through a couple pieces that we've mentioned before. So if you've never seen this graphic on data, I think it's a good one, right? Individual data points are not all that useful themselves. When you start giving meaning to them, you get information and knowledge and insight. And then when you can take action on an insight, you get wisdom, and that's how you make an impact. So that is definitely how we're aiming to help you get data, right? We start with data collection, then we give you some ways to take action on it, and then to report out on it. Recently, Alex and Kyle Christensen have had 3 webinars on KPIs for VCIOs, account managers, and customer success managers. Next week on Tuesday, they've got another webinar coming out as well. So be sure to find me on LinkedIn, and you'll connect to that, no doubt. But one of the things that they've looked at, and this is from this Customer Success Professionals Handbook that I've mentioned before, is sort of how can we track progress from what's the very first thing, some data points we can collect, all the way through insights and the actions that make, wisdom, et cetera. And so some of the first things are basic activities, right? Are we just tracking? Are we doing business reviews? Yes or no, right? Are folks coming to the party for them? And then we look at the health scores and the adoption. Are they accepting recommendations that we're doing, et cetera? And then lastly, are they more stack aligned and therefore driving revenue and opportunities for the MSP? So the first thing that has already been released, and folks have already seen this for sure, is inside of Scheduler. We now have the tiles to track how many business reviews have been completed, to be delivered, past due, skipped, et cetera. Today, we're going to go look at customer success to see a couple other pieces. We're adding insights reporting to customer success, which will happen not this weekend, but next weekend. So this weekend, opportunities happen. Next week, the insights reports happen. But when I'm in here, I am in 2 dev sites on 3 screens at the same time. So it's going to probably take a minute to load. It's definitely going to take a minute to load. But when I'm in a particular meeting, I can now score that meeting if I have customer success. And Casey, I might have to get you to pull up your screen if mine decides it doesn't want to load for me.
Where did you go to, Marnie?
In Scheduler. I am clicking into one of the business reviews. There we go. So Scheduler, and then in business reviews, if you have customer success, you can now score a business review, and you can see the scores highlighted here. And we already released the fact that you can link recommendations to a business review, et cetera. So I'm going to show you what happens with the ways to score business review. I was listening to one of the webinars that Alex and Kyle did, and Alex actually talked through these pieces to be able to track things like, did the decision maker show? Did we meet on cadence? Did recommendations get accepted? And did stack alignment improve? Is that conversation of moving the needle? So I'm going to show you what that looks like over in customer success. So I'm now in the customer success module. And So there will be a new row here called Insights. Brian, I like the comment. Yes, we're not going to make a random score that gets applied. Right? There's a reason to it. You need to have some yes, no answers, because otherwise how a business review went is just overly subjective, right? I assume that's what you're kind of referring to. If we just let everybody score it. It's interesting. I used to do teacher evaluations. So I've got a lot of experience in scoring grownups and children with testing. And I went and observed a school district in New Jersey, and 50% of their teachers were all at the highest, exceeds expectations, and the other 50% were all above average. So, average means that there's about half are above and half are below, and they had everybody was above average. So I thought that was an amazing school for sure. But it is part of our nature to always kind of upgrade what we think, right? Rarely does anybody give below a 50%. So you have to force consistency in how you're going to grade in order for the data to actually mean something. You get to define those questions. So we have put 4 default questions in, but if you want to change the questions, you can edit those. But whatever questions you come up with, you will then see the scores on this report in Insights. So let's think about what we had talked about in terms of the progression on the board here, right? Nope, this one. We want to look at, did a business review happen, right? That's step 1, yes or no. And that's the tile with, we've completed these, we've got these to complete, these are overdue. Next up, as the process matures, because it's easy to get overwhelmed if you feel like you have to do this all the time. That's right, Alex. Alex said momentum in the chat. So next up would be, are the business reviews happening on a cadence? Did recommendations get accepted, and did it move the needle on stack alignment? If you remember, Joe and Abby and Alex from Acellus came on and talked to us about the fact that they had a partner that business reviews did happen. And yet there was a churn of a particular client. And when they went back to look, they realized that it wasn't the decision makers that were actually showing up. So they had a project manager, an office manager that came to the business review, that they weren't actually happening on cadence. So they had set them up to be quarterly, but they always slipped. And so they actually had been giving business reviews more likely every 6 months. They realized that even though they were paying their monthly recurring revenue, they hadn't bought an extra project from them in over a year, and they hadn't moved the needle on alignment to their best practices. So they recognized that even though that client was paying and they didn't have any negative CSAT scores at all, that they'd lost momentum with that client. And they're the ones that asked us if we could start thinking about how we could track that data to show which clients are gaining momentum, which clients are stale, and which clients might be losing momentum to kind of get ahead of churn, and who should have a business conversation. So that's where we want to say, are we gaining momentum, and where are we gaining momentum? So if I click back into the chart, you can see that in creative designs, right? Decision maker showed, we met on cadence. They accepted some of the recommendations, and stack alignment did improve. You can see the difference between the scores, and we'll even show the score history. So Casey's worked hard for Dunder Mifflin today. Casey's done all kinds of imaginary business reviews for our friends at Dunder Mifflin. Casey, can you remind me of the story of what happened to Dunder Mifflin today?
Yes. So as some of you might know, Dunder Mifflin was acquired by the parent company Sabre. And when Sabre took over, they went into cost cutting mode and started, making cost saving decisions left and right, and basically cut off communications with their suppliers, and started making poor business decisions. So what we have here is a company that started off really good with us, and we had a great relationship with them, and then they stopped taking our advice and started declining everything that we threw their way, and now we have the health that we have here today. So
you can, yeah, put it in the chat. Wait, that never happened. So hopefully it doesn't. Dharma Enterprises, however, they're rock solid. They're all for the zen of, we want to get along with everybody and do all the things, right? So you can see that we're going to track your business review history over time, so that as you score it, you can see the data. You can see the associated account manager, and you can also see right within this report how many recommendations were associated to that business review, how many of them were declined, how many of them were completed, and how many of them are sort of in progress, but not finished. So you should recognize some of the typical functionality that you see in Lifecycle Insights, which is we've got the manage gear icon. So you can actually drag and drop to build this report as you would like. Casey's got a very different view on his screen than I have. He's got all of the recommendations followed by the recommendation score, that type of thing. Yeah, Jeff, we agree. Like all of this on one screen makes a lot of sense because you can build the report you're aiming for. We plan on adding many more data points to this, but want everybody to dig in, use it, and tell us what other data points make sense. The other piece that's really important here is that you can also filter this page by account managers. So what if I filter this by Marnie and all of my business reviews went down, right? I've got negative trending. Or Marnie delivers all of her business reviews, but stack alignment never improves, right? She gets the right people to the party. They do the business reviews on time, but nothing's actually happening within the business. So you can look at this across account managers, and you can also look at this by account group. So in a shocking turn of events, none of the lawyers ever move, right? They just stay right where they are. We haven't gotten any momentum. Or there was a big breach with a law company that made a lot of news, and then suddenly you get momentum across these pieces. You may find some insights into which verticals really do work best for you, where again, folks are stalled. Stalled is the hardest data point to really capture because you're not seeing movement. So everything just feels like status quo. But I always said when I was in customer success, like silence is deadly when it comes to partners. If they're not talking with you, those are really high risk of churn versus someone that's grouchy with you is actually trying to work with you. So those are all the types of things that we're hoping to help drive with this report. It is already available to export. Well, it will be next weekend when it comes out. Download to CSV because we think a lot of this you're going to want to, you may want to do some extra Excel wizardry with it. You can download to Microsoft Word or PDF. So I see in the chat, Ron says all my partners have stopped responding to QBRs. So we probably want to light them up with some new ideas of what they want to talk about next, right? So Brian put, wonder if it makes sense to capture the why behind a good or bad scored meeting, particularly around did the recommendation get accepted? Just thinking about sales strategies that might come into play there. So one of the pieces that we have in our roadmap is the ability to add notes various places and to be able to tag, like every time you add a health score, add a note. So same thing here, I think makes sense for me to tag. Jeff, I know you're on the call. If you could put in the, just make a note for notes that we want to make sure they're tagged on the business review standards. I think we already have that idea on how we want to do it. So I think it makes sense to add here, but that's exactly the type of thing that you'll be able to look at. We're going to add swatching. So next weekend, there will be a few more bells and whistles. So if you can swatch away and just show me where all of the reds are, where we didn't get any recommendations accepted. What else do we notice about those partners, right? I think that's where we take the data, turn it into insights that let you lead into action. So what are folks thinking? Clearly, I'm nearly at the end.
Oh my. All right. The clients that are avoiding QBRs, I would recommend, okay, we won't do a QBR. Let's do an SBR, a strategic business review. Give it the new name. Like we used to be called MSPs, managed service providers. Now we're called TSPs, technology service providers. So try the new name and see if maybe they'll give it a shot instead. If they're anti-QBR, maybe they're going to be pro SBR. Like it's a strategic discussion about your business and how the technology aligns with your business, right? We want to find out what the latest is with your business so that we can help you grow your business, be more efficient in your business. in the call this week, where Alex and Kyle were talking about VCIO, you're doing it wrong. Somebody brought up that they don't have a seat at the table with the decision makers. I think that's extremely important that, you know, these SBRs are with decision makers. They're not just with your point of contact POC at the client, but they're actually with the people who will make the decisions based on your recommendations.
And
Just wanted to
I completely
I
agree.
had something to add too, if
Yeah.
you don't mind. I just went to a sales training that was pretty interesting and learned several different strategies. But one of the things is, well, first of all, making the client understand they are a technology company first, because they can't really deliver their products and services without technology. And then get out of the weeds of even talking technology, and just what's the current state of your business and where do you want to see it in the future? What's the future state? And then it's up to you to figure out how to help them get to that future state. But you're talking a lot more high level. Where are you at now in your business, and where do you want to go? And it's more of a business talk than it is technical talk. And so, yeah, we're going to start trying this new strategy. And I love the fact that we can score this now, right? Because if you are trying different strategies with different clients, you want a way to be able to track what's working and what's not working. So I love this new scoring system. Thank you very much.
Yeah, well, and Alex from Accelis is on the call. They're the ones, like I said, that really brought the idea to the table. We've gotten bits and pieces from other folks of things they wanted to see, but they tied it together nicely in the way to look at it. I just put in the chat the name of a book. It's called Getting Naked by Patrick Lencioni. Of course, Google that book with the name so you don't get your spam filters all jammed up. But that is a book about consulting when you are not an expert in their business, right? As Brian just said, you are helping them deliver business outcomes with the thoughtful use of technology. So you want them to be better at law than you are if they're a lawyer, and better at dentisting if they are a dentist, right? And so sometimes that's intimidating to think, how am I going to give business advice to a lawyer? I'm not a lawyer. But in fact, they are running their business on technology. But if you've got some kind of mind games about you, and I don't know how to have that conversation, I think that book does a really good job of helping you be a consultant and sell solutions, as opposed to specific technology. So I see you have folks have put in the chat, you know, that there are various cadences for the business reviews. So monthly, annual, semi-annual, et cetera. In case folks missed the last update in the business review cadence piece, we have added the ability for you to have a triannual business review as well. So that's an automatic cadence. So if you were looking for kind of an in-between cycle, you can now, meeting cycle, select triannual as one. Yeah, you're welcome, Tricia. Because sometimes every 4 months really does get, you know, especially the nature of some businesses, that might make more sense. And it was certainly a hassle to have to like go add and delete meetings in life cycle. So they made it a little easier for you. So some sales tips in the chat. Be very curious, ask lots of questions. Absolutely. Always add 2 more follow-up questions to a single question to dive deeper into the client needs. Yeah, don't ask yes or no questions, right? Get them talking about them. Be very empathetic, feel the client's pains with them, make them feel heard, repeat what they tell you back to them, make sure you understand what they're saying and that you heard them. Some things that I used to do before consulting with school systems is I would go look at their website to see what they said their priorities were. Right. And sometimes I had ideas of what I thought they were going to do based on that. And you could ask questions around it. Right. So like I see on your website, you're aiming to be the fastest X, Y, or Z. Right. We have some productivity tools that help some of our partners, you know, do these processes faster. Is that what you mean by aiming to be, you know, the fastest in your space, that type of thing? And the other place is always the cost savings you can bring to the table by doing a budget conversation, right? That is, and yes, always schedule the next meeting before the end of this meeting. Absolutely. Yeah, and many of them will do that. I think, so Alex likes to do the trick of when would it make sense to have the next one, right? In 2 months or 3 months? And so if they say 3 months and they cancel, you just rebook it for the following, right? Like we had agreed to 3, but I'll push it 1 so that they're making the decision. There's a little more ownership on that. Yeah, put it on the agenda and then to ask them for items on the agenda, right? So what are 3 things that are keeping you up at night? What are, what is it? What is something you wish technology could do for you? I think a good one to always ask is, okay, before our next business review, I'd like you to think about the different departments and are there any humans that are doing the same thing over and over again manually that we might be able to help you automate? If you give them homework for the next one, then when you call to schedule it, remember we wanted to talk about productivity pieces or some other plant questions like that so that they know what's going to happen the next time. Never ask, yeah. Yeah, it would be rude to double decline. So he says, I just send them, make them accept or decline. If they decline, he sends the next one for the next week. Other practices to share?
Yeah, Marnie, can I just jump in instead of in the chat?
Yes.
So for a lot of these suggestions for like regular cadence stuff, within Report Builder, we just add it to the template that we use for our QBR report that we pull and have those as agenda items or as pieces that are part of the QBR itself and as part of the first agenda slide. So it's all part of the QBR to schedule those things. And it's just the template that we save as a custom template in Report Builder so that it's same customer, same partner every single time that we do a QBR.
And would all agree that setting up that cadence, establishing that early on in the relationship, like Ron, you've had a lot of your partners for years and years, right? So you're trying to get them into a cadence that they're not accustomed to. Whereas with a new partner, it is just part of doing business with you. I can see a lot of head shakes on that. And I know Matt, who joined the call, always talks about it's really mission critical to get that first business review done early. Don't wait a whole half a year to make it happen because you need to make sure we're aligned to you're aligned to their expectations, and you'd rather find out in the first 30 days than 90 days in, you're doing exactly what you said, and they thought a lot more was coming. So he really encourages a sooner rather than later approach to that first business review to make sure, again, you have those project technical meetings all along, but to have that high level strategy meeting too, to make sure everybody's vision's being met is important. Yeah, once you get them on that cadence, that's right. It's not a problem. It's just getting that first one and to acknowledge the importance of it along the way, for sure. Other thoughts? Any other feedback on the release pieces or any questions on anything? Again, the opportunities, the ability to create an opportunity or to link to an existing opportunity in ConnectWise is coming out this weekend. And then next weekend will be the insights report in customer success. All right. I know that the team is working on building out more roadmap pieces. So we're excited. Halo for James, Halo for the opportunities. Yeah, so one of the beauties of getting acquired by ScalePad is that we've got some new resources that know more about integrations. So we want to get all of the feature parity with Halo and Synchro that we don't have. So yeah, we're the same teams. It's nice that we're growing for sure. Anything else I can do with the voice I have left?
Yeah, Marnie, I got just a general question. I need some education here. I need a little mindset shift. Customer success, ABCD. So we're having an internal argument on the team. So you guys view A, we're stuck on the effort, right? So to us, when we look at it, we say effort, call it number of tickets, or we look at basically the last 3 months. Of tickets. How much of their allocated hours did they use?
Yep.
So if they used a lot of hours, that puts them high effort. Would you guys consider that good? Can you educate me on Like for
Oh,
us, what our
so-
team's saying is we're saying B are the better customers, not the A's.
Oh, no, we would agree that B are the better customers, but we say A are the customers that need the most engagement. So A would be quarterly or maybe even monthly business reviews because they do require more effort. B is you're absolutely your most profitable. So because we like to kind of go diagonal, so we used to take this segmentation chart and draw diagonal lines across it. So anybody above that diagonal might be a monthly business review. Anybody in this next section in the top quadrant would be quarterly. And then anybody down here would be semi-annual or annual. And then all the way to the left would be annual or virtual. So that's why we don't flip that, right? Because the effort, in fact, means more engagement. So instead of thinking A is like your prize, and a lot of folks do that A, B, C, D ranking with A as your top partner, it's more of need for engagement.
Got it. Okay, so it turns out I don't need a mind shift. I just had a misunderstanding. Okay, that
And
makes
you
perfect
can
sense.
change the labels. So if you want to call, if you don't want to call it segment A, right, you want to change that label and call it like high touch. So some folks have relabeled these high touch, mid touch, tech touch to help, their team say, oh,
Cool.
I get
Yeah, okay.
quadrants.
Yeah, that makes more sense. Okay. Wait, was that in the settings?
It is in the settings. Jeff, if we have an article on how to set that, can you put it in the chat? If not, I will try to remember to send it on the Monday call. Brian?
All right.
Yeah, while we're talking customer success, when we first dove into this, I spent a lot of time on the stack alignment component. And then I realized that the stack alignment component is really designed around looking for opportunity of revenue. And we do stack alignment a little different because we only have one service plan we give.
Yeah.
And so we're more concerned with what do they have deployed and what do they not have deployed and what's the state of what is deployed. So we moved to assessments
Okay.
to track all that. And now I'm wondering if we're going to use an assessment to kind of measure our stack alignment, how can we potentially replace the built-in stack alignment here with that so that it's showing up on our scoring, right?
Let me tell you one thing that we are going to build toward that might be helpful for it is we're aiming to automate. I don't know if it's automation, but we're aiming to connect the dots between stack items and assessment items. So you would be able to trigger this red or green based on an assessment answer. So I feel like that would do it for you.
Yeah.
So
Awesome.
we have a huge bucket of things that we want to do to enhance the customer success piece. And we think that will aim for the automation. Or again, we know it's not automated because you're manually scoring it, but it'll populate this chart that way.
Thank you.
So let me just check, Jeff, and see if I just don't remember where the button is. These are the groups. I think it is in the customer segments dashboard in the gear where we can change the settings, where you can rename A, B, C, D, etc. There we go. The gear by save. So if you go into this customer segmentation page, you can rename and then you can talk about like what value you've given it, etc.
Got it. Awesome. Thank you for that additional help.
You bet. And I don't know if folks realize this because it's been a while since I've clicked on this screen, but in this gear, all of the metrics that you pull over for health, effort, etc., are options. So you can, this is another one of like those build your own reports as you go type of thing, similar to what Insights is bringing to the table, but this has some different, this just has every metric that you've pulled over elsewhere on the platform. For folks that jumped in late, again, this weekend, we are going to be able to connect to existing ConnectWise opportunities or create new ConnectWise opportunities. And then the other PSAs will follow shortly behind. So thank you for tolerating my my allergy voice today. Hopefully next week it'll be on the mend and my car will not be yellow anymore. All right, well, I will say have a good weekend. and we'll see you next week.